Let's take you back to the UN headquarters where the General Assembly is getting underway. Aside from Gaza, another topic on the agenda is Iran. Well, Al Jazeera's diplomatic editor James Bays joins us from New York. Iran, a big issue when you're talking about 80 years towards more peace and stability. How is that playing out today, James?
Well, it just happens that while world leaders are gathering here, as they do every year, for the Palestine meeting and then for the high-level week of the General Assembly, all those leaders giving their speeches, it's the last final days of a deadline that was triggered by European countries for what's known as snapback. They are unhappy that Iran is complying with the Iran nuclear deal, and by Saturday, if nothing happens, then all the sanctions that were there before the 2015 deal, they will snap back into place. Let's discuss this with one of the key players. I'm joined by Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the IAEA, that's the International Nuclear Watchdog. So first, snapback. Deadline is Saturday. How worried are you that this, if those sanctions come back, that it could destroy the nuclear negotiations?
Well, let's hope not. I think we have to make the distinction here. Snapback, which is going to have, if it happens, a huge impact in terms of economic sanctions and other things, is one process. Then we have something which is the relationship between the IAEA and Iran, which in principle must be permanent and not be contingent on the snapback being activated. Of course, if this happens, Iran, for one, has said that this might affect the relationship and the cooperation with us. And this is why there is so much diplomatic activity, as you were saying in your introduction, between those countries, ourselves, the United States as well, to try to find a way forward.
Now, those countries, the three European countries, have made it clear there are three things they want out of this. One of them is more cooperation between Iran and the IAEA, but you recently did a deal with Iran in Cairo. Are you happy with the cooperation the IAEA is getting from Iran at this stage, considering Iran was only subject to an attack by Israel and the US very recently?
It's a process. It's a process. Like you say, the attacks were, in a certain sense, a watershed because, direct kinetic action took place, vast damage to nuclear installations there. Inspections had to be suspended because of the mere fact that there were bombings falling from the sky. So now we have to make our way back into the system. Meantime, Iran adopted internal legislation, putting some, if not conditions, some new mechanisms to deal with the inspection work. So we had to sit around the table in order to try to reconcile both things. They have internal laws, those create obligations for Iranians, not for the IAEA, but we have to listen to their concerns and remind them that they have obligations if they want to continue to be a member of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
The other conditions from the Europeans, they say Iran must account for the highly enriched uranium that they'd already been produced, but Iran says that's buried under a bomb site, and they also say they have to re-engage with negotiations. Well, hang on a minute. Iran was the one that was still involved in negotiations, and just days before they were supposed to sit down to meet in what was said to be a constructive process, it was Israel and then the US that bombed them.
Well, one thing at a time. Regarding the high enriched uranium, which was stored and kept in locations that were attacked, of course, Iran is very concerned that giving access to inspections could affect their security. And we have been giving them the necessary assurances that our work has nothing to do with actions that states could take. And this is part of this technical conversation that we are having, because to perform inspections, you can do it in a number of ways. It's too long and too technical, not to bore the audience. But this has been the dialogue. So this cooperation, if you take these parameters, this metric that you were saying, there is an ongoing cooperation. Is it all that we would aspire to get? Not now, but we are on I hope, on a way to get more of that cooperation. And so time for diplomacy is needed, yes.
Now, I've interviewed you many times before,
yes.
And there's been lots of speculation about you, because Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, finishes his term at the end of next year.
Yes.
That you might be a candidate.
Yes.
Are you going to be a candidate?
Yes, yes. And the reason why I'm going to do that has to do perhaps with some of the things we have been discussing now and in the past with you in different places. Ukraine, Russia, China, Japan about Fukushima, Iran and the Middle East. I believe that the kind of work that the IAEA has been doing, the approach, not always 100% successful, but quite effective, and with respect and dialogue with everybody, is what the UN needs. And this is what is inspiring me.
So this is important breaking news. You are the first person to declare themselves as a candidate to be the next Secretary General of the United Nations. Can I remind you that just on the 2nd of September, the GA, in an ad hoc working group on revitalisation of the GA, said candidates who are holding positions in the UN system, IAEA as part of the UN system, should consider suspending their work during the campaign. Now you've announced, are you stepping down temporarily?
Not at all.
Why not?
Not at all, because I shouldn't, because I have a responsibility dealing with very important issues. And let me add, laterally, that doing what I do is what may offer countries an ability to judge whether what we are doing at the IAEA is something that they might wish to see at this global stage. I'm focused on my work. I will continue, not stopping for a single minute.
Rafael Grossi, Director General of the IAEA and now candidate for UN Secretary General. Thank you for joining us here on Al Jazeera, Sami.
All right, thanks so much. Our diplomatic editor there, James Bays. Excellent work.
Don't miss out the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.